Hey, welcome to 209coach.com. I want to do a video for you today on how to improve your swing. Whether you're a player or a parent or a coach, I truly believe if you apply what I'm going to share with you, it's going to help you or your student, whoever you're working with, to get better. Now, unfortunately, this video right here was cut off, and this is where pretty much where the video begins. So she wasn't in her setup, so she's kind of like in the gather right now, and now she's going to start getting into the stride. Now, the first thing I would highly recommend for you to do when you're working with students is always work in front of a mirror or a reflection so you can actually see if what you actually think you're actually doing. Okay, many times I tell students I want you to apply something. If they don't have a reflection in front of them, it's very, very difficult to be able to make adjustments in your swing unless you can actually see yourself, so your mind and your body are working together in order to make the fixes. The quickest way for a person to learn, okay? So that's just something that, number one, what I would highly recommend. Now, when we're talking about improving your swing, it's very important to understand what causes power. And for me, I've been coaching now over 20 years, and one thing that I always tell my students, I've been doing this for years, I'll talk about the top hand pullback, okay? Top hand torque. So what you want to do with your top hand, you don't want to use your arms, you don't want to use anything other than just your top hand. You want your hands about around the height of the armpit. That's what I always tell students. But if you start with your hands higher or lower as your setup, it doesn't matter. But as long as they end up around the armpit area, when you get into your toe touch heel plant, that would be ideal, okay? So again, and we're doing this in front of a mirror with your top hand. As you start your stride, you want to start feeling the pullback, okay? Now, another thing that I want you to do while you start your forward move, only when you start your forward move, you want to start the pullback, and you want to get your tailbone to start rotating towards the pitcher, okay? So you're coiling your tailbone, and everything is coiling along your backside. So if you're a right-handed hitter, you should feel like your right hip, your right thigh, your right torso, everything on the right side is coiling. It's almost like a spiral up your right side, your right thigh, your right hip, your right torso, your top hand is pulling back, and you're feeling like this beautiful coil, and everything should be done or applied very, very smoothly, okay? So right here, you can see here, watch what's going on as she's applying the top hand pullback. And this is just something that's going to allow you to keep your back elbow up. You can see here how she keeps her back elbow pretty high. This is something that you don't see enough in lower level players. Now watch what's going on here. As she starts to get her toe touch, pay attention to her top hand. She's going to start spilling the cup or tilting the bat. So her palm went from setup, which you couldn't see, was vertical, in other words, facing more towards the pitcher. And as she continues to get into her toe touch, you can see that her top hand now is kind of tilting downward, okay? So right now she's at toe touch, all right? And it's very obvious now that her palm is facing downward, okay? Again, it's very important to understand that when you're doing this, simultaneously you're getting your tailbone, okay? And as you start to stride forward, you're rotating your tailbone towards the pitcher. So in other words, you're feeling a coil on your backside or on your right side if you're a right-handed player. As you're coiling, you're also pulling back with the top hand, and as you're striding, you're feeling like you're tilting the bat towards the field. Doesn't matter if the bat is tilting more towards right center or second base or left field. That's just preference, because once you get into heel plant, what usually happens if you apply the technique correctly, your bat's going to shallow behind you, okay? So again, watch your top palm. It went from kind of facing the pitcher as setup, now it's kind of facing downward as you get into your toe touch, okay? So what I would highly recommend for you to do over and over, just get that feeling down, okay? As you're starting up, your bat should be pretty vertical at setup. It's real important to understand. Unfortunately, I don't have the clip at her at setup right now, but her bat is very vertical at setup. From there, as you start moving forward, you want to feel that coil I'm telling you about. It should be coiling. You feel like everything's in your backside, your right side. If you're a right-handed player, again, your tailbone's working towards the pitcher, and you're going to go to toe touch, and with the pullback, you're going to go where you're tilting the bat, where your palm by pulling back, okay, by pulling back, and at the same time your right palm should be facing kind of downward like you see here with Kinzie here. Kinzie Hansen is one of the best hitters in the nation in softball. She just has tremendous mechanics. So this is why I'm using her as a model, okay? Now, when you land, the thing to be looking for here is this. Now, watch what's going on. You can see here, it's very obvious that her hips are pointing this way, okay? They're pointing kind of like towards the catcher, okay? What happens is with a lot of players at lower levels, when they land, they're landing with their hips kind of open. In other words, their belt buckle would be pointing more in this direction, okay? So this right here is wrong, and the way she's doing it is correct. So this is another checkpoint for you. When you land, what you should have at toe touch, you should have kind of a shoulder to elbow look. Your shoulders pointing to the second baseman. You're going to have slight flexion in the arms. Your bat should be pointing about a 45-degree angle, just like this, okay? This is just beautiful mechanics, and if you look at yourself in the mirror, your belt buckle should be pointing to your right of where you started, okay, because of the coiling of the back hip. Remember, this back tailbone is starting to coil where it's facing towards the pitcher, okay, and the top hand is pulling back. It's very important to understand that this is crucial for you in order to be able to apply an elite swing. Now, as you continue to swing, what I would highly recommend for you to do next, okay, as you're still pulling back, you want to maintain, I always tell my students, maintain that pullback or feel that tilt down of the top hand continuously through the whole swing. Now, naturally, it's going to not do that because of the way the body works, but the top hand pullback is crucial because what that does, it allows the bat to shallow, and if you're doing this correctly, watch what happens here. Now, the body right now, everything, like I said, is coiled up from the back side. Now, what I tell my students to do, I tell them to kind of get the back hip and feel like you're kind of pushing it out this way. Okay, it's almost like you're pushing from the back of your hip, almost like you're tilting it. So it's a look like kind of like, it's hard to imagine, like, again, what I'm referring to unless I'm actually working with you in person. But just say your body's kind of like this and you're kind of feeling like you're tilting back. Okay, and that right there is everything is kind of pushing this way towards the pitcher. Okay, if that makes any sense. You're kind of tilting. So in other words, your swing is more like a roller coaster. Okay, it's not like a merry-go-round. It's like you're tilting your swing. Okay, you're tilting into the swing so that you can get more of a vertical bat and you're not cutting across your body. Okay, you're kind of doing more of a vertical swing, and I'll get into that a little bit further on in the video. Okay, so anyway, as we go, what you're doing, you're still applying the pullback. You're doing that tilt back, okay? You're kind of making sure you're staying back. Everything is from the back side as you're pulling back. And now, as you go further, okay, watch what happens here. You're still applying the pullback, but watch what happens to the top hand. The top hand goes from facing downward to immediately, because of the pullback, your hands stay very tight to around your deltoid area, okay? But watch what happens to the top hand. And now the swing happens extremely quickly. So right now, her palm is facing upward, okay? It went from facing down to facing up this quickly, okay? And this happens so quickly, and the way this happens is by you applying pullback, by you applying all the things that I just mentioned to you. And watch what happens to the bat because of the palm going from pointing down to pointing up and still applying the pullback. The bat starts to shallow behind her. In other words, giving her tremendous bat speed behind her. Watch her palm where it is right now. Right now, if you were to look at her from pitcher's view, her lead shoulder, her arms, and everything right here are in perfect alignment with the actual shoulders, but you can't see it from this angle. But if you were to look at her from pitcher's view, everything is in a perfect plane, okay? And that's what you want to look at when you're doing the mirror work, to make sure that when you're working on it, just say put the tee, or imagine swinging a pitch perfectly down the middle, you want to make sure that your tricep, your forearm, everything is in perfect alignment with your shoulders. Okay, if you, in other words, what you see a lot of times, the shoulders are here, right? And if you're looking at it from the pitcher's view, the arms are kind of down here like this. Okay, you don't want to see that. You want to make sure that you're in perfect alignment. Okay, so from this angle right here, all right, what you want to make sure that you're doing as you're working on your swing, you want to make sure, and this is going to be really good for you parents out there working with your kids, because again, if you teach them to do that top hand pullback and maintain it, as soon as they start to get into that tilting of that back hip and thrusting from the backside. Again, everything's like a thrust from the backside, and immediately have them go from palm down to palm up while they're pulling back. Okay, and right there at this stage of the swing, this is a perfect checkpoint. At this stage of the swing, I cannot emphasize this enough. You want to feel like your hands are staying back. Now, naturally, they're going to go forward because of the way the swing goes. Your arms will extend out there, but you want to feel like you're almost connected to your deltoid with your palm facing up this early in the swing, okay? And you can see here what's going on with her swing just from the way her feet are, that everything is kind of thrusting from her backside, okay? She's kind of tilting back a little bit right here, okay? You can just see it right here, and I'll go ahead and erase these lines. She kind of has like a kind of a look like kind of like this, okay, like that, and everything is kind of being pushed out from her lower body, from her hips going this way. And that again is going to allow her to have more of a roller coaster swing, what you want, and not more of a merry-go-round swing. Now from here, watch what happens from here. Because she's still applying the pullback, the lead elbow should immediately work up to the height of the mouth. And you can see how her hands, even this late in the swing, are connected to her deltoid, okay? Right there. And everything is in perfect plane. Watch how the bat speed is behind her. In other words, what you see many times with players at this stage of the swing, their hands are literally out here, and the bat speed, as far as seeing the bat is kind of coming in and like right here. That's pretty much what's going on. And that right here is incorrect. What you want is exactly what she's doing, where the hands are here, okay, and the bat speed is behind her. And this is how you get the bat speed behind her. Now think about it. If she's in a game and the bat speed is way back here and she's getting tremendous pitches with velocity, very high velocity, the chances of she catching up to a pitch that's really fast are far greater back here than doing something again that's way up in front of her hands, if that makes any sense. So applying these mechanics should help your child, should help you if you are not doing this. Again, the technique is the pullback, okay, palm down, palm up immediately. And again, as you start to get into your heel plant, you want the lead elbow working up to the height of the mouth, and you want to exaggerate the barrel below the hands. Okay, watch this. The lead elbow works up to the height of the mouth. This is where her mouth is right there, and watch what happens. This is what you see with the best players in the world. The lead elbow works up to the height of the mouth. This is very, very common in elite players. If you're not doing this, let your lead elbow work up to the height of the mouth. Keep the barrel below the hands as long as possible. Now, she's getting a pretty high pitch right here. But watch how much her barrel is still below the hands, way deep into the swing. Look at this right here. This is amazing. And look, the lead elbow still working up to the height of the mouth. The barrel still below the hands. This is just tremendous right here. What I would highly recommend for you to do, if you're working off the tee, when you're looking in the mirror, allow yourself to get to full extension like this. Okay, this will train your body to make sure that your arms are getting fully extended and that the barrel is still below the hands just late in the swing. Many times what happens with players when they're playing, their bat is literally flipped at the stage of the swing. By applying this kind of technique that Kinzie is doing here, it's going to allow you to stay to and through the ball much longer than someone who's allowing the hands to flip or for the bat to get horizontal. You want a vertical bat as much as possible in order for you to be able to hit the way these elite softball players do. Okay? So in a nutshell, I just want you to do this in front of a mirror, okay? I've been working with students over 20 years. I work with professional players, D1 players, softball, and I've helped a lot of my students by applying this kind of technique. And this is very important if you want your child, if you want yourself or your students to hit with more power, okay? It's crucial that they wind the hip and get that top hand pull back as we're getting into the stride. Feel like everything is coiling from the backside, like you're winding up the thigh, winding up your right torso, your right thigh, and that pullback should be maintained throughout the whole swing. Of course, it won't be. You want palm down, you want palm up immediately, still pulling back with the top hand, and that's going to allow, again, that palm to go down to up immediately. It's going to allow you to stay connected, like you see here, with her hands really close to her deltoid, giving her a very elite compact swing. And as you start to swing, you're still pulling back. You should still feel like you're pulling back. The lead elbow works up to the height of the mouth. Barrel below the hands, barrel below the hands. Keep that barrel below the hands way into extension like this, and this is going to help you tremendously. Again, do it slowly and methodically. Please give me a like if you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, get a hold of me at 209coach.com. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. All right, have a blessed day.